Okay, Washburn County Judge Angeline Winton is joining us in studio and is our very special guest this week. For my father, Terry Dryden, I'm Ben Dryden, and you're listening to DrydenWire Chats podcast. You can find all of our podcasts on Anchor or wherever you get your podcasts. Angie, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
It's a pleasure. This is really great.
This is wonderful.
So you were recently appointed Washburn County Judge. How long have you been officially the judge in Washburn County?
Officially the judge. So I was having to go back and look at the timeline, actually. I was sworn in at the end of August. So it's been August, September, October, November. So it's been a while.
Oh, yeah.
It's been sort of a whirlwind. It's been great.
Yeah, and I want to get into how that is, going, and where I know you've done some training and what that stuff is like. But for the people who don't know you or know you very well, what is your history? Where did you grow up?
All right. Absolutely. Well, I was born here in Spooner, and my family lived in Shell Lake until I was about 4. I come a little bit from a legal background, so one of the conflicts was when I was about 4, my dad, who was just starting his law practice, realized it was really difficult to have a law practice when his dad was judge at the time. So the family moved up to Hayward. I finished high school up there. And when I went to college, actually went into pre-med emphasis.
Really?
I like medical school, and I had a legal background, and I kind of said, listen, I've been raised in a legal family. I'm going to do something else.
I have a rash on my ankle.
Yeah.
Could you diagnose that?
Yeah, no.
No? Okay.
No. Unfortunately, the sight of blood came into play.
That's kind of, okay, I think you made a wise choice to not go into that field.
And sadly, those plans were dashed.
Sure.
But once I came back from college, I took a break and really realized that I wanted to live in Washburn County. Mm-hmm. My sister and I actually built a house really soon after I finished college. So for about the last 20 years, I've been a Washburn County resident.
Okay.
All right.
And then, so do you go to school in Washburn County?
In terms of high school?
High school, sure, yeah.
No, went up in Hayward.
Okay, then Hayward. And then college was where?
UW Eau Claire with a pre-med emphasis.
Okay.
Biology major, chemistry minor. So
what led you from that to getting into the law practice?
Well, funny you should ask. A lot of it had to do with being a starving artist because I like to be creative in my spare time. A lot of people know that. I build furniture.
Yes.
I do other things with my hands. In high school, I was throwing pottery. And so I thought that was very interesting. So once I finished college, took a little bit of a break, worked at a gallery, was making pottery. Can't make a really good living doing that. Yeah.
Starving artist.
More of a hobby.
And the parents who love me dearly would say, we do have this law practice that we worked all these years to build up. Would you ever consider? And for many years, I would never.
Because
I grew up with the law, good and bad.
Sure,
my parents both worked in the same law office. So would bring a lot of things home, would hear about the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of it was just, I'm going to do something different.
Yep. Well, Dad being a sheriff, my brother went into law enforcement for a while as well. He was chief in Wheeler, I think. Yeah. He was a jailer down and done. Uncle Alan, Dad's brother, was also in law enforcement. My sister was in the FBI. I also grew up with that, and I see it, and no thank you. It's just not really for me.
Yeah.
But it changed for you, though.
It did change for me, and what happened is I said, okay, I'm not quite making a living, not quite making the mortgage payments, working at the gallery, so let me come work for you part-time, help out at the law office. It's different to hear about it at home than hear about it at the office, and to see the people my dad was helping, and to see... frankly, to say, I can do this. This is not that, it's not.
So as you got into it, was it, I'm glad I'm getting into this, or, it's paying the bills?
It was, I'm glad I'm getting into this. Is really interesting. Legal writing, I love. And so a lot of helping my dad out originally. And then when I started to go through law school, made that decision, legal research, finding the case law, making the arguments, that's what I really enjoyed.
Who enjoys that? I mean, I guess you do,
well,
but I mean,
it takes a certain person.
It does not sound enjoyable.
So where did you go to law school?
In St. Paul William Mitchell College of Law. It's now merged with Hamlin.
Right.
And so,
okay. And how many years was that?
That was 3 years. It was intense.
I've heard.
It was intense.
And pass the bar then, and everybody says that's really tough to pass the bar. Is it that tough, really?
Pass the bar. It was, again, intensive.
Okay.
And so when I made the decision to go to St. Paul, I have a lot of my mom's family there. So I said, okay, I'll have a bit of a cushion. I'll be able to talk to people. Madison is a far, far place away. Well, and the whole idea of taking the bar wasn't so much of an issue at that point. Of course, once I finished college and I had to take the bar, I went, oh, yeah, this wasn't the best idea. But it was intensive. But at the same point, I remember going down to Madison, not having been down to Madison too many times before, taking the bar and kind of saying, I really can't study much more at this point. Yeah. I've been studying all summer, so I'm just kind of having a good time in Madison, too.
Yeah,
so
sure.
It was intensive, but it was doable. I passed.
Good. You got through it?
Yeah.
Is it pass-fail, or do you get it scored?
It is pass-fail.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's scored as well, but
Sure.
there are, unfortunately, people who don't pass, and you can take it again. But
Where do you take the bar exam down? Where do they do that down there?
I was actually at a hotel.
Oh, okay.
It was.
Okay. So it isn't a specific place, probably. They move it around,
I think
maybe?
they move it around.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then how long were you in private practice? Or with the law firm?
I was in private practice from 2008 to, and I did that up until the time that I became DA in 2017. I did that part-time.
Okay.
So my history track, graduated law school, passed the bar, got sworn in. You start to take classes. I started to do civil things like being a guardian ad litem.
Okay.
Yeah.
A guardian ad litem works for the best interests of children or vulnerable adults, those type of things. So you take specialized classes over and above law school.
Okay.
So what I did is I sent out a letter to the surrounding judges to say, okay, I've done this training. Please appoint me to these cases if you so want.
Sure.
Right. And so that was a good entry to get known in the area.
Yeah.
And it just so happened at that point, then DA Bitney was looking for an assistant DA.
Oh.
And so I applied
Sure.
for that. That was a great opportunity.
When was that? Do you remember what year that would be?
That was 2008 into 2009.
Okay.
So I think I started right in January 2009.
Okay.
Did you do the guardian ad litem for other counties? I mean, was it multiple counties then, I assume?
I did.
Okay.
I did. And that's with my background. I was happy I was able to do that. It seemed a little bit frenetic at the time or crazy because I was doing part-time in Washburn as assistant DA,
Yep.
part-time in Burnett.
And Brent, because that's shared for people who didn't know. And it isn't anymore. It just kind of with the new approvals and the new funding for ADAs. Now Washburn has the position for a full-time and Burnett has the position for a full-time. But before, you were the ADA and you were the ADA for both Washburn and Burnett. So you were spending, what was it, like a day and a half in each county. And then on those other days, I believe that's when you were still doing your other practice.
Right, which was great. It
Very
gave
nice.
me the ability to do a lot.
That's a lot of hats to wear.
It was multitasking,
Yeah.
but it's fun because you get a great exposure
True.
into various things. So.
Yeah. And then, so you went, so Bitney went to, became a judge.
Judge Bitney.
You were right.
Yep.
And then there was, Tom Frost became the district attorney in Washburn. He was appointed.
DA Frost, yep.
Yep. And then you were still there as the ADA. And that's when, I think it was around 2000, I think it was 16, wasn't it? When you
Right,
ran?
when I
So you decided to
declared.
run for district attorney.
Yes.
I believe Tom Frost was not running, so you were running for district attorney.
Correct.
Why? I mean, didn't you like traveling to Burnett and Washburn and your own practice? And what was the decision what was the thing that made you say, you know what, I think I want to just be the district attorney?
It was a little bit of that saying, I am doing all of these jobs well, but can I focus on one thing? And this is what I love, and this is what my passion is, and advocating and working with the victims and working with the judges.
Sure.
And it's a different kind of doing law. Being a guardian ad litem, you are absolutely being a zealous advocate, but it's a different type of law and doing divorces and
Yeah.
other things. So really saw the opportunity to do good in the community and to be able to focus.
And so you won the position for district attorney, and you were district attorney for about 3 years, I suppose.
Yes.
Now, when you were the district attorney, what was the challenges coming from an ADA and private practice to district attorney? What challenges were? did you face when you became district attorney?
Well, and absolutely. And one of the challenge was the buck stops here. You are making decisions as the district
True.
attorney. There's no one else to turn to. Having a part-time then assistant DA, having the ability to talk with your counterparts is somewhat limited. In a one DA county where you have a part-time assistant DA 1 day a week, you don't have a lot of time to bounce things
Yeah.
off of people. So
Yeah.
you are making those hard calls and you are dealing with the caseload.
Mm-hmm.
And the caseload is ever increasing. And it was a lot of work, but again, it was very rewarding.
Nice. So then it was I think it was earlier this year, actually. Very earlier this year. Now retired Judge Harrington had announced that he was going to be resigning or retiring. I'm not sure what word he used. I can't recall. And that was, I think it was effective in August, or maybe it was July, August. So when you heard this, was your first thought, I'm putting my name in, I want to be the judge? Or was this something that took you a few days, a few weeks, seek counsel from family and friends? Were you encouraged to run for it? Or was it, I knew right away, that's what I'm doing?
Well, I knew before that. Judge Harrington was an excellent judge for many, many years, and he did not hide things. So those in the community knew that he was going to retire before he made the formal announcement. So I had had months and months to think about it.
Sure.
And by the time he announced, I knew I was going to put my name in. And that's one of the things that through the appointment process, I know we may talk about that further, but that's one of the things, again, I didn't from birth say I must be judge or my life will be over.
Right,
You
right,
know.
yeah, sure.
But again, I felt called to serve.
Sure.
I loved serving as a district attorney. I loved being in the community. That was a wonderful position that the community allowed me to serve in. But again, being able to be judge, I love my job.
So talk about, since we brought the appointment process, my understanding is there were obviously several people who had put their names in for the position or for the appointment. What was that process like? Do you a series of phone calls and emails, and it's like, okay, we'll pick you? How does that work?
It was a little bit more involved. And again, first of all, you fill out an application. And I just
Nope,
happened
I would have stopped right there. I actually have to fill something out. I'm like, screw it, I don't want to be judged that bad.
I'm assuming it's multi-page application.
multi-page, you find people who will have worked with you in the community to use as references. I just happened to pull out mine the other day and noticed it was about 2 inches thick.
Oh my
So
goodness.
a lot of the writing samples that I had done as both district attorney and assistant DA appellate briefs and things come in very handy. So
Wow.
see, that legal writing pays
Yeah,
off.
like, I
Even
don't even know
though
what half those words are. But it sounds important.
Yeah.
So there's an application process. You answer a series of questions. You send that in. And then if you're selected for an interview, you go down to Madison once or twice. Or in my case, I went down actually 3 times.
Oy.
Wow.
3 different ones. Now, when you meet, do you meet with, and obviously we don't need to know necessarily the specifics. If you can't say, that's fine. But is it a panel? Is it 2 people? Is it a room with 12 people?
The first time it was with the full panel, so to speak. And there's various attorneys and who've been appointed, and they do an excellent job. And they kind of grill you.
Intensive, I suppose.
Yeah. And so a beautiful room in the Capitol.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're in the
Yes.
fancy.
We're in the governor's
was-
conference room?
It was, yes.
Yeah, that's a nice room.
It's gorgeous.
It's a
room.
beautiful room.
Yeah, nice room.
Yeah, you don't know.
No.
A little bit intimidating,
Yes,
the room
it's very
itself,
intimidating.
but
Yes.
Sure.
so
How long was the first one?
the first one was about 45, 50 minutes or so. So
Okay.
it went again.
Sure.
It went
Sure.
in a heartbeat. But
Then you get a call or contacted a period later to, we want you to come down again.
Yep. And
And you say, what did I do wrong the first time? But okay.
say absolutely.
fine.
You want me
Sure.
down there? I'll come back.
Okay.
So
How high do you want me to jump? No problem.
Yeah.
So then you go back down there, still 12 people or a
No.
full panel type thing?
this was a smaller, just asking a couple more specific questions.
You couldn't do that over the phone?
Well, I didn't mind.
Okay.
They call, you show up.
That's
so
okay. All right.
So, and again, any opportunity to get down there, make face-to-face contact.
Networking is huge, man.
Absolutely.
So then you get a period of time goes by and another call then to go back down. Now, what was this one?
This one, I actually was able to meet Governor Evers.
What?
It was great.
Nice.
Although I had a horrible cold.
Oh,
So the
my.
poor man, I wouldn't shake his hand. I hope he didn't take
no.
offense.
You
but,
told him why, though. You told him why you're not shaking his
I
hand?
told him
oh,
why.
good.
But Yes, very nice man.
I was just going to ask, what were your impressions of Governor? And again, this isn't a political thing. This isn't. I don't care if it's Democrat, Republican. It doesn't matter. Just as as a human being, when you interacted with him, what was your takeaway?
Yeah. Very intelligent man, very kind, very, just very thoughtful, and certainly had put this great team in place. And so I'm sure relied upon their recommendations as well, the Judicial Council. But
was that a one-on-one with the governor, or did you have somebody else in there?
It had a chief legal counsel was
Chief
in there
legal
as
counsel?
well.
He's usually pretty heavily involved in that,
Yes.
chief legal. Yeah.
Yes. And so that was a pretty quick interview. And
Nice.
yeah.
Then
And
how
the
long-
rest has been history.
So then, hold on. Then you leave
Then
there.
you go home.
Then what?
Then there was a while before the actual announcement was made. So I was trying to put some plans in place because I had an idea that it was going to be me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty firm idea. And so trying to wrap up and not leave my DA ship, so to speak.
Yes.
Certainly wanted to make sure that there was coverage for
Yeah,
that.
and I want to ask
so.
you about that as well in a minute. But funny story, we had heard as well. DrydenWire heard because we made a few contacts, of course. Imagine that's just part of our job, and we had heard that it was going to be you. So I was hounding them every day, emails and phone calls, and where's the release, and when can I say, and what, and so I think actually little. Sounds pretentious, but it absolutely is. We were the first one to have that story, by the way, that you were appointed.
True story.
Yeah.
I think it was released on DrydenWire
Yes,
first.
it was. And I remember even, I think I even had spoken to you to ask about a statement or something. And I think you even said, I haven't even been told yet. So I'm like, yes!
Right.
We had it before she even knew. So we felt pretty cool about that. So going back to your district attorney, that ship that you were just referencing, because now you're appointed.
Right.
It was, I can't remember, like a Thursday or something.
Right. It was,
And you're starting like on Monday. And at that time, I think we talked a little earlier that there was the ADA position was now going to be full-time.
right.
So you were looking for a full-time ADA in your role in your capacity as district attorney, while,
Right.
of course, you're seeking the appointment for judge. So then this all kind of happens, right there. And so I think the next day, I think it was Friday. So I think the appointment was on Thursday. On Friday, you hired Aaron Markow, who's now the district attorney. What was that process like?
And
Was it at this point it was like, screw it, I just got to hire someone because you can't not have an attorney representing the district or the district
Exactly.
attorney's office?
Exactly.
Or was this kind of no, this was leading up to that. So it was perfect timing, but I knew who I was going to pick anyway.
It was perfect timing. He was a perfect applicant. It made a lot of sense. And it wasn't just overnight.
Right.
Again, I had an idea. I pretty much
Yeah.
knew that it was going to be me. I just didn't know when the
Yeah.
appointment. So I did have some time. And so I did discuss with various people, consider other people, but Aaron was the clear choice.
Sure,
You
sure.
made a good choice there. He's a
Yes.
I've heard
pretty
good
good guy.
things.
I have heard very good things as
Good.
well.
Oh, good. And I think they're still looking for, unfortunately. Now they're looking for an assistant district attorney. I think everybody is right now, actually.
I believe so. And one of the things I should bring up, logistically trying to figure that out, in terms of hiring Aaron, I hired him on as my assistant DA at that time because logistically I didn't know who could fill that position, and I didn't want to leave the county without a DA.
Yeah. I
True.
think doesn't the judge appoint a district attorney? Typically, a county judge appoint a district attorney, except in your case, you were the district attorney, you hired him as an ADA, now you're the judge. Yeah, that is a mess.
The judge could appoint a special
special-
prosecutor,
Oh,
but the
okay.
governor has to appoint the DA.
Got it.
So
Yeah,
I
because
made
then he
that-
still had to go through the process and wait for the governor to then officially appoint him. And
Correct.
He had to go down to Madison for several meetings.
Did he?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
Yep.
assuming he did.
I
like
assume he did
everybody
as
else.
well.
what a mess.
No,
It's not.
but-
It just all happened to be at the same time. And again, if you throw in the ADA position going to full time, that was that thing that really kind of made it a perfect storm of multiple things moving all at the same time, all in a short amount of time.
But how amazing for the county to
Yeah.
have a full-time assistant DA. And once that's filled, that should be
nice.
And
Great help.
and the staff in your office, the district attorney, probably had, oh my God, who's going to be here next? You know, and it's like, what do I do? How do I deal with this person?
Oh,
So
sure.
there's had to be some give and take there as well.
Exactly.
I mean, we have 3 young ladies in there that do a great job.
They do.
And it's like, oh boy, now what's this guy going to be like? But
Exactly.
nice thing about having Aaron, he was there before, so they knew him anyway. they knew him a little bit. He wasn't there that long, but he was there long enough for, I think, to get the relationship to start building.
Right. And he was wonderful. When I
Yeah,
spoke to him a few days in advance, I said, will you come in and meet the staff?
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
again,
nice.
I have worked with that staff. They've been amazing. I could not have done the job, tried the number of cases, worked as hard without that amazing staff. And there is some concern to say, who am I going to leave not only the DA job with,
But
this
the
position
office,
of trust,
yeah.
but my staff? to
Well,
make
going
sure.
back to what we were speaking of, when you were the district attorney going from private practice, the challenges that you would face, and maybe just the differences.
Right.
And one of those, I would assume, would be, it's not just you anymore. It's now I have a staff. I have to consider that part too, the actual office itself.
Right.
And that's, I think, what you were just referring to, that it's not just who would be the good a good ADA, which would likely then be the next district attorney or appointed, or would have a shoe in for that, or at least be kind of the front runner. But how are they going to fit in with the team?
Right.
Because if
Right.
they don't, if it doesn't really gel there, I don't know.
And,
Right.
and logistically, how many times do you have to change the stationery head on your letters that go out?
Right.
Okay, who we put on here now? Let's just leave it blank for a while.
No.
Yeah, district attorney, big
TBD,
question mark there.
TBD, no, TBD term.
And so, from my perspective, it was a really good transition in terms of
It actually
Aaron.
went pretty smooth
Yes.
considering what you guys were going through.
And he was great. He was at that time working as assistant DA for Sawyer County, and so he took a risk as well.
Sure.
Yeah, because now he has to, just because he was appointed, he has to run for
That's right.
election next year.
Correct.
Right, he does,
And so do you, so I want to get to that in a little bit too. But
Yep.
so now we're caught up. You are appointed. You are now the judge. And it's Monday. You went, I can't remember, I think it was Wausau or somewhere, I think, to get sworn in. And then what? Tuesday, you walk into Washburn County and you start hammering down on the criminals.
It wasn't quite that fast.
I figured it
but-
wouldn't be as easy as that.
So, yeah, I was sworn in, I want to say like a Monday. Again, it was a whirlwind. It was pretty fast. Judicial College was starting. So, Judicial College is actually
Another
a
college.
thing.
Nice. Okay.
Another college. I didn't have enough education, but it's actually a great process. Very informative, very educational.
Is this like they had like the sheriff's?
Yeah.
I don't know what they call that. I think everyone just kind of the sheriff's school or something where when you get elected, they kind of send you down there, the sheriff's.
Called Baby Chiefs and Sheriff School.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think that's how we're going to refer to what she went to, but
No, I don't think they did.
is it the idea that it isn't, we're not teaching you law, you know law.
Right.
It's all the stuff that goes with, I don't know, being a judge, right? And what are those things? Like, what do you learn at that college?
Exactly. And a lot of it, funny enough, is because I think coming from the outside, you have this perspective that judges must be, very strong and not friendly, not approachable. A lot of it this time was saying, we understand the dynamics of the courtroom, the fact that judges, everyone has to rise when you walk in a room, that you're on this raised pedestal. There's enough intimidation built into the system. And so a lot of it was trying to be cognizant of the fact that try to be a kinder, gentler
Sure.
judge. And so, trying to temper that
Interesting.
with being a newer female as well.
Sure.
True.
Yep.
You don't want to come off
Right.
that you're going to let people walk all
Yeah.
over you, which is certainly not the case, but
Yeah.
you also want to be appreciative of that factor as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, so a lot of good information
So,
there.
and how long was that for?
That was a week.
A week? And then what, after that, now you're back, gaveling down and...
And then you, instead of just coming right back and throwing you in and saying,
Good luck.
good luck, go for it,
Yeah.
what they do is they have a great mentoring program. So they actually allow you to go with other judges in the district. We're in the 10th Judicial District.
Ooh.
So I had 2 weeks of driving around a lot and being able to basically shadow, not only shadow and
cool.
watch, it's a great program, but the judges gently push you out and say, okay, you do the next
Yeah,
hearing.
yeah.
I will be your safety net. But so you're actually allowed to judge in a safe environment, so to speak, which
That
is
is
great.
a good idea. Yeah, because the decisions that you make, these are big consequences. And I'm not saying
Absolutely.
consequences are negative. I'm saying it's big decisions.
Absolutely.
It affects a lot of people.
I always say
And if you do something wrong, that is a brilliant idea to have that.
exactly. I wish it was mine, but
Well, you can take credit for it. That's fine.
that's right. I always laugh though because the parties when they would show up and there would be two judges sitting on the bench, it's a little intimidating.
Well,
So there has to be
certainly
an
would be.
explanation. What did I do to get two judges
Holy
today?
mackerel.
It's a speeding ticket.
But
That'd be a little hard to swallow.
Yeah.
Whoops.
So how do you prepare? So I'm sorry, let me get back to where are you now? So that was your college, your judicial college, then the mentorship program. Now, is there something else up until what you're doing right now, and what was that, and what are you doing right now? Are you officially in Washburn County? Are you officially overseeing cases? How does that work? Especially considering, I probably should bring up that you were the DA.
Right.
So that must create another challenge,
Right.
being the district attorney in Washburn County, then the judge, and you've probably filed a lot of those charges, and that's just got to be a mess.
It's not a mess, but it's a challenge. And there are a lot of good people.
That's a bad word.
There's a district court administrator. And thankfully, it's not so much of a challenge for me. There are people down at the district court who are helping to organize. I'm sure there's spreadsheets and it's involved because there are a lot of cases. When I was DA, we filed a lot of cases, and those are not things that get resolved quickly. So I am judging now. I am doing a little bit more civil right now. I'm doing the new criminal matters that are coming that I had nothing to do with, of course.
Sure.
And what I'm doing is Judge Bittney again from Barron was nice enough to volunteer to switch. So I'm taking his criminal load and he's taking my criminal load.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's nice of him to do that.
It is very nice.
But only on the cases, your old cases that you filed as district attorney.
Right.
So it's not like Judge Bittney's here all the time, every day.
Correct.
It's
I suppose
only on those times.
Slowly wean off.
Yeah, right.
Correct.
So eventually, those will all be gone, and you'll be it.
Right.
Eventually.
And there is still, it is still a circuit court. So that is still involved. It's traveling around a bit. But that will slowly be at a manageable level.
Sure.
And it's manageable.
So you're kind of in getting comfortable. And what I mean by comfortable is, okay, the colleges are finished, the mentorship's finished. We're going to slowly, get into, you're doing more of the new criminal cases filed in Washburn.
Right.
So we're starting to kind of, maybe you're just now after months, okay, this is what it's like to actually be the judge in Washburn County. Because up until now, it's kind of been, I've been everywhere and doing everything. Just kind of like to have a home base for a little bit.
It's been a bit of a whirlwind, but no, it's been nice. And so the last few weeks I've been able to, not that I'm going to make massive changes, but I've been able to get my feet wet and just dealing with the staff. I've worked with a wonderful staff in Washburn County, the clerks of court, but on a different level. So now coming in as judge and we're all getting to know each other in my different role, so to speak. And so it's been great, and everyone's been extremely helpful.
Oh, good. So when you were the district attorney, or even when you're in private practice, you've obviously, I don't know what's called, appeared in front of judges or practiced in front of judges. Multiple judges you've been in front of. Is it kind of like parents, where when you're a kid, you look at your parents and say, boy, when I'm older, and I'm a parent, I have kids, I'm gonna let my kids stay up at 2 in the morning if that's what they want. And they can eat chocolate. Is there something like that where, man, if I was ever a judge, here's what I would do? Did you ever have any of those? And if so, if you can say what those were, and are those things that you can actually do? Or is it one of those, now that I'm a parent, I realize, now I actually know why we don't let the kids eat chocolate and stay up to 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right. And that's a really good question. I think when you're an attorney appearing, you're always, whether you're consciously doing it or not, you're always saying, well, that's an interesting way this judge is doing this. And you see a wide variety, because even with the criminal cases, I was having different judges come in different cases. You get substituted. Certainly there are things. There's just procedurally ways to do things differently. You go to judicial college, and I should note, judicial college isn't only for the new judges. It's something that the older judges have to come back and do after time as well. So it's a good refresher.
Nice. It's like an eye test for your license every 8 years or whatever it is.
Yeah, a little bit.
Wouldn't be a bad idea to check it out.
Yep. But what is really refreshing is you get to sit in a room full of colleagues and you get to hear there's a wide variety. There's not necessarily a black and white answer to everything. So there's a wide variety of approaches.
And I think that's what a lot of people would like. It's like a baseball with that strike zone K-cam thing where we do have the technology to say if it's a ball or strike.
Right.
But we still have umpires that are actually managing or umpiring the game. And I think a lot of people will just, let's stick to that part. But there are so many variables that go with, there just isn't a checklist. Okay, you did this, you had this as a history, you had this, and done, you get this.
Right.
There's a lot of nuances that go in there. So of those, and as you just mentioned, that there are different judges and it's a wide spectrum. To that point, or to that end, what is your focus? How do you want to be as a judge? maybe another way to say it would be, how do you want to be known as, or what do you want to be known as a judge?
And it might sound trite, but to be fair, to be knowledgeable, to be strong, but at the end of the day, to walk in, to know your judge is going to be prepared, is not going to have prejudge this, so to speak. Is going to listen carefully to what you have to say, and is going to know the law. I mean, at the end of the day, what more can you ask for?
I mean, yeah.
And of course, any decisions you make, everybody's just going to love it. Yeah, right.
Well, that is also the joy of having this job. Is no matter what, you're leaving someone unhappy.
Well, yeah.
You had the other day we did a story about someone got sentenced. It was Washburn County. I think it's from the cities. We had a story like a year and a half ago, and then it was a Washburn County. But and we typically don't use judges' names or lawyers' names or etc. It's but sure enough, people weren't really happy with the sentence. And right in our comments, even on our Facebook page, someone said, "Oh, new judge, huh?" I'm like, so I had to respond. I'm like, well, actually, it was a judge from a different county. But I remember as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, poor Angie. Get used to this.
Well, that's part of the job as well.
Yeah.
But again, being able to justify and explain. Again, going back to why are people in court? Variety of reasons, but for many intents and purposes, this is most often probably the worst day of their lives. Maybe not. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's an adoption. Maybe it's a divorce, and people are very happy.
And that is a good day, though.
Having a good day.
Yeah, get rid of that guy. Get rid of that guy.
But for a lot of intents and purposes, worst day of their lives. And so, as a judge, not only being able to do the right thing, make the fair decision, but to explain it.
Sure.
And I've already experienced that, is that you're going to have to decide, and a lot of times that ends up leaving a person not getting what they want. No. But if you can explain why you're doing it, if it makes sense, I've been surprised already the number of people that walk into the courtroom, have a nice day,
See you later.
Yeah.
Well, you have a legacy in your family, though, in judgeship, though, don't you?
We do.
Is it a legacy? Oh,
well,
I'm interested now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a Winton,
I'm a Winton.
Yes.
How long was Judge Winton? He was, how long? He was quite a while, wasn't he? He was there when I got there, I believe.
So
your dad or grandpa?
Grandpa.
So my
grandpa
and then my great-grandpa had also had terms.
That's right.
Oh, I didn't know the great-grandpa, too.
Great-grandpa.
I bring that up because how is that going to affect you? I mean, it's a legacy in a sense. So is that your legacy as well? When you're finished this and you retire as a judge, are you going to feel good about that? Or my great-grandpa and my grandpa were both judges, and now I am. How's that going to play out?
I think that's part of it, and I think that's something to be proud of as a tradition. Sure. But again, I want to do my own.
Your own person.
I didn't get here, and I didn't run as DA based upon my background. I didn't even during the selection process make a great deal because that was them. I'm a different person.
Well, that's a lot of years ago too.
Yeah, and just like taking that different judges. I've learned a lot of things. I've learned a lot of things about my grandpa, which is great through this process. I've learned how he was a judge, how he did things. Sure. And so, it's been a great process. But again,
you're your own person.
I'm my own person. Yes, right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Judge Yackel, we've had him on a few times. I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on the judge? And, give me some juicy stories about John.
Well, I don't know that I have many juicy stories about John.
Well, you can write them down later and let us know.
Next time he's on, I just wanted to rib him for something. But I've watched him. Have you, when you were the ADA, have you ever been in front of Judge Yackel as the, again, I don't know what it's called, just appearing in front of him or practicing in front of him?
I have, both in terms of when I was DA and as terms as being his guardian ad litem. I even worked with him. He was assistant district attorney in Sawyer. For
nice.
a term.
Right.
Okay.
He was.
I forgot about that.
That's right.
So now that you're the judge, it must be kind of like when Dad was a sheriff, or now that you're the judge, it's a different world in terms of your inner circle.
Right.
Obviously, family or people that knew you before you were judge now, or even before the district attorney. Seriously, your circle gets a little smaller. Do you reach out to other judges like John Yackel, like Judge Bitney, for counsel? Because who else can I really talk to?
Right. And I have.
You can't.
and they've been wonderful. Judge Yackel was at Judicial Conference a few weeks back and was wonderful. And just be able to bend their ear and say, I'm thinking about making some small changes. What do you think of this? and just been absolutely wonderful. It's a great community. It's of judges. They're there for you. We had a similar thing as district attorney that you could say, okay, I'm having this issue. Has anyone seen this before? So I don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Well, you also go to each other's counties as
Right.
judges. So that's another reason, and this is something that, when we first started DrydenWire, the idea wasn't that it was Washburn County specific, because they didn't really care about the county lines, because we're,
Right.
Minong, we're here in Spooner, so Minong's what, 20,
Right.
25 minutes. Rice Lake, 20, 25 minutes. Siren, 20, 25 minutes. All in different directions, but they're all different counties.
Yep.
Northwest Wisconsin are probably like a 5-county radius. It's certainly 4, but maybe 5 or 6. Rusk, Barron, Burnett, Polk, Sawyer, Washburn. It's kind of just one big community.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
is that kind of the, I don't want to say coverage area, but kind of how the counties that you would go to and those county judges kind of come here as well?
Right.
So having those relationships, maintaining those relationships, because a lot of these
Invaluable.
counties, I think Barron is Barron and Polk only have one judge, right? I mean, other than those, right? So Barron, I think, has 3.
Right.
Polk, I think, has 2 or 3.
Right.
Burnett has 1. Sawyer has 1. Still has 1. Washburn,
Right.
1.
I don't know
think
about
Right.
Douglas. I don't know about Douglas.
I don't know much about Douglas.
Douglas,
Okay.
I believe, has at least 3.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I would think so.
Now, of all of those, so I had a chance to actually go into the judge's area. I saw you a few weeks ago. I was there with a meeting with the district attorney, and I saw you, and I'd never been on that side of the hall before.
Oh, in the chambers.
Right. Or
Yep.
just in your office. I've never been
Yep.
over there before, and I noticed it's really quiet. Like, where is it? There's offices and nobody's here. I'm like, where's your staff or something? And now, of course, I realized that the Crooked Court's office does, an amazing job in what they do.
Absolutely.
But I had seen on the meeting minutes in the county, because they could send to us a JA position, a judicial assistant position.
Right.
I'd asked Judge Yackel about that, and he has a judicial assistant, and it sounds like most judges have these.
They do.
Washburn does not.
Yeah.
Correct.
Do you know if Washburn is, because according to what I saw in the minute notes, it looks like that's something that they were looking into, to have a separate, an actual person, or a position, I should say. That's a full-time position. I believe it's full-time.
Right.
For a judicial assistant. Is that something that you would support? Something that
Absolutely.
you,
Absolutely. And again, it's the clerks have been doing that job, and they've been doing an amazing job. Absolutely amazing. As a new judge coming in, and as a judge who's traveling a lot, I made the request, along with some other folks, that I wanted to bring back the judicial assistant. It was something that most other counties have.
Yeah.
Washburn County had for many years.
oh, I didn't know they actually had one at one point.
Yes. Yes. It was at some point, it was done away with as a standalone position. But there's small changes I want to make. And as a judge who's traveling a lot, and
Yeah, and one of the biggest things, I think anyway, for judicial assistant is a lot of the scheduling and
Right.
the communication from, if you need something
Right.
or say something, then that person is the one that, okay, I can get this done.
right. And as you said, as the judge, you can't be out there
Yeah.
mingling with everyone,
Yeah.
because it's an issue of being fair. If you walk up and you're ready to hear your case, and the judge is standing there with the other party having a conversation, you're going to kind of go, well,
Right.
that's a little strange.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
part of that is having a physical presence down at my side of the corridor, so to speak, because you do get those people who are knocking on your window, and you don't want to be rude, but I can't go speak with them.
Oh, that's true.
So to speak.
Right, yeah, you just can't, just random people walking up, hey, Judge,
Right.
I want to talk to you for a while.
Do they call that ex parte or something like that?
Exactly.
I don't know what that means.
Exactly.
That means you can't talk about the case with somebody who's going to rule on it.
Oh,
Right.
Basically, is what it is.
So where is that process now? Because last I had seen, it looked like, again, the meeting minutes, the notes, it doesn't go into a lot of detail.
Right.
But from what I last read, it seemed like it was moving along in the process.
It
Do you know
is-
where it is in the process?
It is moving forward. I
Okay.
think we are going to start interviews early December.
Oh, my
Oh,
goodness.
good.
Oh, that's coming up fast.
Right.
Very nice.
So,
And shortly after December, so this is the part that is a lot of people probably know, but some people may not. When you are appointed as a judge, and I had to find this out going through what you were going through, because I
Right.
didn't know the answer to this. Your terms aren't set. A judge's terms aren't set. It's 6 years, but they're not set on, like, in 48 years now, we know that the district attorney in Washburn County, that race, it will be up at this date on this
Right.
month. Judges aren't. It is 6 years, but my understanding was that if you get appointed, so if somebody resigns or retires, or for whatever reason is no longer the judge,
right.
governor appoints the next judge, in this case you, that your election, you are now on the next available spring ballot.
Yes, I am.
which means I think that's what, February now, because it's nonpartisan, of course, so it would be a spring election. So you'd have a February, do they still call it a primary?
Yep.
February primary.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be, instead of Republican or Democrat, it would be, I think, 2 or more people.
Right.
Or I'm sorry, if there's more than 2 people.
Because the judge is nonpartisan.
Right. If there's more than 2, it doesn't matter. Then there'll be a vote to get it down to 2. And then in April,
Yep.
there'll be that. So you have to, you're just now kind of getting going, getting comfortable in the role and settled in. Sounds like there's already a couple of things like the JA thing that you're looking into. That's a fast turnaround.
It is a fast turnaround, but it's nothing that I can't handle.
No.
It's,
Sure.
I've worked hard before. I'm continuing to work hard, and I've done this before as DA. I had a
That's
unopposed
true.
race,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
so collecting signatures and
I was going to say now, if the primary is if there is a primary and it's in February, when do you start picking out papers in December?
very soon.
I think
Very
so.
soon.
That's like next
Yes.
month.
Yep.
Holy cow.
I'm gonna get some warm boots and a warm coat, and
How many does the judge need?
I believe it's around 200 to 400. I want
Okay.
to say, so it's doable.
That's not too bad.
It's doable.
For a whole county.
I think it's 200, and you can't turn any more than 400.
I believe that's
But you
correct.
can keep the other ones in case there's conflict.
Why can't you turn in more?
I don't know.
Maybe you don't want to have to look through them.
I could be wrong, but I believe that's what I was always told. You
Yeah.
can't turn in any more than 400. I don't. So I just kept the rest of them in my desk, and if there's a question on a person doesn't actually live in the county, if there was a question on a
Right.
signature, you'd have that fallback.
Correct.
So obviously, DrydenWire, we don't support any candidate for anything ever. Obviously, personally, we can do whatever we want. But I do think that is a position, regardless if it was you or anyone else was appointed, because of the quick turnaround, and because you're just being a judge. And again, you can go to the judicial college and you can get the mentorship. But just 6, 7, 8 months, it's just not enough a body of work to, I think, really be able to evaluate someone. I kind of feel like it'd be better off to get the election, win the election. So good, give me 6 years. Let me do something. So let's assume hypothetically that's what happens. You get whether nobody runs against you or somebody does, regardless, you win. You're there for 6 years. 6 years from now, how are the voters in Washburn County going to know if you're doing well or not? Because I don't even know how you really evaluate a judge. Well, I'm serious. Like, how do you really know?
I know.
Well,
What would you ideally, right? So, how in 6 years from now, how do they know that you're doing well?
Again, I think it comes down to fairness. I think it quickly becomes apparent with a new judge whether you know your stuff, whether you are up to speed on the law, and whether you are fairly and appropriately considering things.
Sure.
And
Sure.
it's difficult because I'm not going to prejudge and I can't talk about any specific case.
Yeah.
But I think also some of that comes into people know me. They know I've been in the community. They know my history as a DA.
Yep.
It's a different role, but
Yeah.
you do bring some of the same traits.
Sure.
So
Yeah, because I don't know really how to, and I honestly think a lot of people probably don't know how to. Maybe just never thought about it to know how it is. Well, honestly, even a district attorney. Yeah, Aaron Marco is going to have an election coming up if he's running. Assuming he is, I don't know. Okay, how do we know you're doing okay? Like, how does the average voter know how a sheriff, how a district attorney, how a judge is doing? Which, by the way, I don't know when the last time it was, but we have all 3 of those are all new this year.
fairly new. Yeah. And fairly new, but I'm excited. I'm excited to work with the new sheriff. I've been working with the new sheriff.
Yeah.
We've been making some minor changes
Oh,
to
good.
procedures. I'm excited to work with Aaron Marco. I don't know him extremely well, but from what I've heard, word of mouth, great guy,
Yeah.
Nice.
great basis of legal knowledge. As we all know, there's issues.
See, now he doesn't run in February though. He
No,
has
he's
to
a
wait till
partisan.
fall
That's
because he's
correct.
partisan election.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
he's got a little more time than you do.
He's finishing out my term.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Going on my timeline.
He's got a little more
Super.
time to work on that.
So, are you going to have any time left for now being the judge for community stuff? Because I know that you're involved in the community. You've done a lot of things. I know that you've been involved with the rodeo. Are you going to be able to have time to do those things?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've been involved where I can. Member of the Spooner Lions, member of the rodeo. I do some things with the Humane Society. I try to be involved where I can. Again, as judge, maybe can't be as active, but certainly a member of the community. I'm out and about on the weekends and during evenings, and it's all about finding the right balance.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you got to pick and choose. Like coming
Absolutely.
on this podcast, because I believe after this, you have to be down in court.
I do.
So you got here very,
Probably
very
shortly.
early. Yeah. Is there anything that you wanted to bring up or discuss that we haven't yet?
Simply, again, what I'm most proud of when I think about Washburn County, and again, my focus for a long time was the criminal justice system. Being a judge is a vast areas, not just the criminal law. But when I think about challenges to our community, things like methamphetamine and heroin, things that are coming into the community, one of the things I'm most proud of in this community is the resources that we spend on trying to rehabilitate. And so that is one of the things I'm most excited working with various parties, not only the prosecutor, but also with the state public defenders, the various attorneys. Again, it kind of goes back to the philosophy about the criminal justice system. But what I've always said, both as DA and now as judge, there's very few people who end up in the criminal justice system because they are purely evil. There's a lot of people who are our brothers, our sisters, our fathers. They've struggled with addiction and they need a hand up. And I've always been proud in our county, even as assistant DA, even when I wasn't involved in the system, that we have amazing resources. And
Well,
so,
and I'm glad you brought that up because I've kind of been hearing when speaking to DAs, people in the court world in our area counties, when it comes to either charges or sentencings, that, child stuff, pornography stuff, I mean, we're going to come down hard. You're a big drug
Absolutely.
dealer, you're get caught with 200 grams of meth, we're going to come down hard. But when it comes to some of these, I won't say smaller things, but the addiction things, the first offense, whether it's marijuana, whether it's maybe even an opioid or maybe even a little bit of meth, not, that makes it okay, but first time, whatever, that it seems to be the common theme. We really want to emphasize rehabilitation. We want to try to help you. We just don't want you back, so we're going to give you a chance. Now, I don't know if that's always been that way, but just I think we're on year 5 now, DrydenWire, when I first started, it wasn't even that heavily emphasized 5 years ago. Have you seen that change in the last 5 years?
I have seen, and I've seen a lot more resources being devoted and a lot of empirical data saying what works, how can we help? Is it enough to simply say, stop using meth? No, it's not. It's a horrible addiction. And frankly, I don't know that everyone has the perfect answer yet. But a lot of our...
Everybody's struggling with that one. Meth is
so
hard.
And I think that's why we are looking into those methods. And I know that may not be very popular. Some people may not like that. Well, again, since we've been doing this, we've had sheriffs, we've talked to chiefs, we've had so many people. And so the meth thing, we just can't get it under control, man. We can't. There's never, when we've asked, I don't know how many people, even like last year, asked, so what is your plan? And it's, it's a 3-pronged approach. And then the next person says, well, here's what we have to do. We have to start when they're kids. We've done a lot of these things. It's not working. I'm not saying stop doing that, but it still isn't working. We need to kind of look at what's next. And I think this is the what's next. And I don't know if we're going to know if it works for several more years.
Right.
But we've got to start now.
And I have seen, as district attorney, as a member of the community, I've seen certain things like drug court. There are an amazing group of people on that team who are working hard. We are helping people.
Criminal Justice Coordination Council, drug court.
It's a slow process, and the person needs to be willing to make that change in their
I think
life.
that's going to fit in well with your new district attorney, too, because Aaron, I believe, and I want to put words in his mouth,
go ahead.
I recall, so should I go ahead and do it anyway?
Yeah, do it.
Well, if you're listening, Aaron, just ignore it. He has the similar ideas that you do, and I think that's really going to work well when you have the 2 power players and something like that.
And the sheriff, so 3. But
and
I know
the
what you're
sheriff
saying.
and Dennis, if he's had the same opinion, and I'm sure he is, that's going to work well. I think that's going to be a start. Well, we started many years ago. It started many years ago, but it is so long and expensive.
It is
time
expensive.
consuming. But you got to start somewhere.
You do.
And my understanding is
you
that
do.
this, from the financial part, it does come back to save money eventually.
Sure. Well, yes.
Absolutely.
Because they're not getting the repeat people. If we can get them help, then they're not coming back and coming back and coming back. And that
And
is
again,
a lot of money.
It all comes back to where are we going to intelligently spend our
Yes,
money?
let's invest now.
And
to
that's
save
not
later.
only my decision, but again,
Yeah.
what you said is deal with people appropriately Absolutely, as judge, one of my jobs is not to represent any party, to safeguard people's rights, to make sure that things are being followed appropriately, they're getting a fair shake. But yes, once people are convicted, to deal with those crimes appropriately. They're to deal with them intelligently. Those people who are dealing in our community are going to be in a whole different realm from those people who are, as you said, a little bit of meth.
Yeah.
Those are people that hopefully can be steered
Salvaged.
towards rehabilitation and given treatment.
Yeah.
Those people who are bringing drugs and filth into our community,
Yeah. That's different.
that needs to be dealt with differently.
Yes, it does. And I think everyone is on board with that stuff. But it seems like everyone just wants a judge to send everyone to prison for 60 years. Like just the default, we should just have mandatory minimums of 60 years for everything.
Well,
And even then, people wouldn't be happy. I mean, there's a point where
that
it's
may
just,
be one opinion, but again, it's different when it's your
Sure.
Yeah, or what if it's you?
significant partner, when it's you. And that's one of the things as judges, not being swayed necessarily just by what,
Yeah.
no offense, but
Yeah.
what the comments are on DrydenWire.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, there's no
Taking
offense at all because I feel the same way. Because a lot of those are at us too. And but we don't care. I'm going to keep doing it the same way that we've always done it. And if you don't like it, turn the channel. Don't really care.
And as judge,
You just got to do what you think is the right thing to do, and that's it.
absolutely.
Washburn County Judge Angeline Winton was our very special guest today. Angie, thank you so very much for coming in.
What a pleasure.
Thank you.
Good luck in the election, and we should have you back on in the springtime. We'll see how things are going.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.